Hey slackers,
What's up?
if any of you guys are parents, aunts, uncles, anything like that, then you've probably had quite a bit of FaceTime with Gen Z. And
They're kind of different, aren't they?
which is a little odd because we made them. They are the product of our tutelage, our parenting. But of course, nurture is only part of the equation. Nature plays its role too. And I would say that in the case of Gen Z, nature, or their natural world, has had an outsized impact on their character. Just like in the last video, right here, I'm going to pass on the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to skip the easy insults and talk a little bit about what Gen Z does better than Gen X. So, why don't you get comfy, and we'll pick this apart a little bit, and we'll see if we can't come to understand some of the things that they do so well that they definitely did not learn from us. They're kind. Not necessarily polite to our ear, but kind. You know, and I think that miscommunication often has as much to do with that internet patois that they all use. I mean, they all speak in memes. But when they do it without malice. And they'll go to great lengths to avoid the kind of callous assessments that Gen X breathes like air. Gen X culture, movies, music, all of it has really been reliant on a shared sense of collective cynicism that at its core is usually about defining ourselves against some vague and definitely inferior other. It's a zero-sum game for us, where somebody wins by telling a joke and somebody loses by being the butt of that joke. And though that seems quite natural to us, to Gen Zs it seems to be quite abhorrent. They don't want to leave anybody behind. Whereas our instinct is to divide, their natural inclination is to include. It's got to feel nice. And this isn't really surprising given the advent of anti-bullying campaigns that began when they were in preschool and permeated right into their adulthood. Have you tried to tell a story to someone under 25 about your glory days recently? There's a good chance you've said something that makes them gasp and then look at you like you just killed a kitten in front of them. Now, I know that can be annoying and that they seem awfully soft and it seems like they're missing out on some good belly laughs. But let me ask you this. Do you remember when you were younger, if you were ever bullied or you're the butt of somebody's joke and everyone else thought it was hilarious except it really hurt you, but you didn't want to be that whiny bitch that couldn't take a joke, so you just sucked it up? Gen Z doesn't have to do a lot of that because they're just nicer to each other. They are fully tech compatible. This one's pretty straightforward, but very powerful. They were the first generation to be completely immersed in technology. The internet, smartphones, surveillance cameras everywhere, all the time. They didn't have to learn any of that because it was just ubiquitous. For the oldest of them, it'd been around since they were toddlers, and for the youngest, it's been there their entire lives. Even the millennials can't hold a candle to Gen Z's easy and fluid relationship with tech. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think 15 hours of screen time is good for anybody. But then again, I'm not evolved enough to handle that without getting a migraine and probably a stern warning from a Facebook moderator about my disrespectful tone. If you don't want to be called stupid, maybe don't say stupid things. But I probably am just remaking my first point, so why don't we move on? They don't drink. At least not like we do, or did. I mean, sure, I've cut back, but I'm not done yet. And that's largely because alcohol was woven into the very fabric of some of life's biggest events for me and my formative memories. Alcohol was a rite of passage for our generation. We started as soon as we could get our hands on it, and we endeavored to get good at it. Nobody wanted to be that lightweight that couldn't handle their booze, because alcohol was part of every consequential moment in life. Celebrations, commemorations, weddings, parties, funerals, Tuesday. You just couldn't avoid it in social situations. Not that we were trying, but Gen Z sees that whole situation very differently. They legitimately see alcohol as a choice, one that they increasingly decline to make. And they're not afraid of that. They don't have any anxiety about it. They're not worried about what people will think of them. They don't feel any pressure to drink particularly. They don't have any worries about someone calling them a party pooper. And yeah, I do think that Gen Z uses the term party pooper, just likely that in their usage, it's much more literal and gross. A little research will show that there's no one reason for this phenomena. It seems to be a bit of a potpourri of things. Changing awareness about health, diminished in-person socializing due to the internet, maybe some trailing effects of the pandemic, and the legalization of cannabis becoming widespread. Now, I realize that any one of those things could be the topic of a very lengthy video in their own right. But I'm going to try to keep the focus tight here and just say that they're probably a lot healthier, both physically and mentally, for their choice to drink less. Anyways, I think I'm going to call it there, guys, because it is time for me to get off to the pub, meet a friend, have a mid-strength beer, and probably a conversation wherein we swap stories about the good old days and that time that we made ourselves look a little bit better by making someone else look a little bit worse. Our Gen Z bartender's going to hate it. We're probably getting kicked out for sure. Anyway, see you next time, guys. Bye.